Howdy folks, Jamboriki here and welcome to Jamboriki Cinema, the podcast mini-series where I talk about films in UK theatres. In this episode, I'll be discussing Illumination's new adaptation of Dr. Seuss's The Grinch. In this film, a grouchy, green-furred man called the Grinch is really hating that it's almost Christmas, and he plans to ruin it by stealing it from the town of Whoville. Meanwhile, the Whos of Whoville are getting very excited over seasonal preparations. One Who, Cindy Lou Who, actually wants to capture Santa Claus himself on Christmas night, so that she can ask him to do something special for a hard-working mother. I found this film to be pretty uninspired and average, but still possibly serviceable. In a bid to stretch Seuss's story to a 90-minute feature film, the movie pads things out with unnecessary details, showing every single thing that the Grinch does to plan for his heist. Many of these sequences could have been easily cut out of the film, and not much would have changed. These scenes are mainly excuses to have forced silly slapstick, which may make very small children laugh, but not because they're clever in any way, it's just the film pandering to their age group. Older audiences, like parents and big siblings, will most likely get bored of seeing Grinchy fall over or hurt himself after the 10th time. We do sometimes cut to Cindy Lou Who coming up with ideas for capturing Santa, which can be cute to watch, but most of the supporting characters in this plot go underused, and the trap they decide to go with doesn't even take that long to set up. It doesn't help that Cindy Lou is written exactly like Agnes in Despicable Me, making the film feel even more unoriginal. It's a very underwhelming subplot. The relationship between the Grinch and Cindy Lou is barely explored too, resulting in the sentimental conclusion of the film lacking emotional weight. I do wish that they had more than one scene together before the finale. The movie does try to have a more sympathetic angle for the Grinch, showing that he is only bitter about Christmas because he grew up as a lonely orphan while everyone else had fun each year. This makes sense, as it ties in with the movie's message that Christmas is about being with others, but at no point did I ever feel sorry for the Grinch. The Grinch isn't supposed to be a character we're meant to sympathise with. The fun of his character is how mean he is. So Illumination want to make sure that he's rude and obnoxious, the Grinch that we all know and love, but they also stop to show the Grinch looking sad when he sees Who's being happy together at Christmas. It doesn't really work because the film isn't giving us a solid enough reason to sympathise with him, as he's not exactly a nice guy. Just because you show him wandering around the orphanage alone at Christmas doesn't mean I'm going to automatically like and sympathise with him. He does get to do a kind gesture in a scene, but it's very random. It's not exactly a slip-up of his conscience or some kind of character growth. He just spontaneously commits a good gesture, then goes back to being a big meanie. So whenever the film cuts to the Grinch looking like he's about to cry, it just comes off as emotionally manipulative. I wouldn't even say that this film's take on the Grinch is endearingly funny either. He's just irritating, that's it. His comedy is limited to pratfalls, doing mildly annoying things to others, and getting bitterly angry at everyone he meets. There's not much range in his comedy spectrum. Benedict Cumberbatch doesn't really bring anything new to the voice of the Grinch too. Whatever compliment you could give him, you could also apply to Boris Karloff or Jim Carrey. I'm not saying that Cumberbatch makes for a bad Grinch, there's some energy and charisma in his voice, he's just not exactly memorable because he's treading the same steps as previous Grinch actors. I wasn't a fan of Pharrell Williams as the narrator too. He's not awful or anything, he just doesn't have that great storyteller kind of voice, sounding more like a children's TV presenter than someone with an amazing legacy to carry on. Other narrators sounded like grandfathers telling a tale to their grandkids, but Pharrell Williams, you can tell that he was only cast in the film because he's a famous pop star. What about the pros of the film? Well, the movie does have a lovely atmosphere, I won't deny that. The visuals are very warm and colourful, plus the Whos themselves are so wholesome and laid back. It all helps to make the film feel very Christmassy. That's the biggest strength that this movie has, but it's not something that'll make it stand out from other holiday films. I also have to compliment the Grinch's inventions in this film. They have multiple creative purposes for the heist, while also staying faithful to the quirky, eccentric machines you would see in a Dr. Seuss book. The best part of the film is the heist itself, and the tools Grinchy uses are pretty awesome to see in action. To conclude, this film is exactly what I imagined an Illumination adaptation of The Grinch would be like. Cute, uninspired, safe, forgettable, and full of pop rap songs to make it seem hip. Something that will greatly date this take on the Dr. Seuss book. Sure, many people are going to love this film, especially very small children, but not because it does anything special. It's retelling a classic story that teaches a lesson that will always have meaning, no matter how many times it's told or who tells it. Of course, this will be a version of The Grinch that kids today will become nostalgically attached to, but not because it's a well-made effort, it just will happen to be The Grinch that kids in 2018 first see. Which is more of a coincidence of time than a measure of this film's overall quality. Heck, I grew up with the Jim Carrey version of The Grinch. That was my introduction to the story, and I have a strong feeling that it doesn't hold up very well as an adult. I'm yet to find that out, of course. I recently watched the 1966 Boris Karloff version of The Grinch, and I wish that was the version I saw as a child, because it's so perfect and sincere. You can read my review of it on my official website, jamboriki.com. I've been Jamboriki. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, then feel free to subscribe to my channel. Cheerio, folks.